Minecraft is awesome, but what if it got even crazier? These unreleased features could totally change the game. Today we're looking at various mobs and game updates that have been teased by Mojang, but haven't made it into the game, yet. Let's see what they might add next. And we're starting with one that didn't just want to kill you. Oh no, this one wanted something worse. Back in 2017, during Minecon Earth, Mojang introduced us to something terrifying, unsettling, and honestly kind of rude. The Great Hunger. It was a large mob that had a rougher texture, like a dinosaur that had been rolling around on gravel, regret, and the bones of enchanted diamond swords. And then there was the mouth. Oh, the mouth. The Great Hunger had a mouth that said, "I am not here for your health potions, I am here for your progress." Because this mob wasn't designed to kill you, nope, it was designed to humble you. The Great Hunger didn't care about your armour durability, it didn't care about your hearts. What it cared about was enchantments. This thing was programmed to seek out enchanted items, like enchanted armour and enchanted weapons. If you had shiny gear, congratulations, you were now the main course. When the Great Hunger attacked, something horrifying happened. Your items stayed, but your enchantments did not. Gone, forever. No recovery, no, oops, here's a book. Just poof. Your sharpness 5, unbreaking 3, mending diamond sword, now, just a sword. Emotionally devastating, mechanically brutal. If this mob existed today, players would still hate it, but in 2017, oof, this was nightmare fuel. Back then, enchantment tables didn't preview rolls. Villager trading wasn't a reliable enchantment vending machine like it can be now. Getting good enchantments meant grinding XP like your life depended on it, and accepting that sometimes the table just hated you. So losing enchantments wasn't a setback, it was a griefing event. Imagine finally getting full protection on your armour, and then this thing walks up and says, actually, no. The Great Hunger would have forced a completely different mindset. This wasn't a mob you brute forced. Player strategy would have revolved around avoidance, not confrontation, ranged combat, so it couldn't touch your gear, carrying non-enchanted sacrifice equipment, tactical retreats instead of heroic last stands. You wouldn't charge this thing. You'd see it and go, nope, not today. I like my stuff. And that's wild for Minecraft. A game where better gear usually means more confidence, not more fear. But Mojang never confirmed what the Great Hunger would drop. The best guesses were of course XP orbs, some kind of mob specific enchantment, or maybe even nothing special at all. Which means the risk massively outweighed the reward. You could lose hours of progress. For what? That's not a fight, that's a trap. And honestly, that might have been the point. If Mojang added it now, it would almost certainly be toned down. It would be more likely to only eat one enchantment, not all of them, spawn in one specific biome or structure, drop enchantment related loot like enchanted gear and books, maybe even XP potions. Mojang might have even added enchantment recovery mechanics so that your loss was less permanent. But the core idea, a mob that punishes overgearing, that's still incredibly bold. And that's why the Great Hunger remains one of the most fascinating what-ifs in Minecraft history. Fast forward to Minecraft Live 2020, and Mojang introduced us to an Iceologer that looked at you and said, you need to chill out. Meet the Iceologer. The Iceologer was an Iceologer spellcaster themed entirely around ice magic and environmental control. Visually, he had a long blue robe with a fur-lined hood. He would be holding a staff or have hand-casting animations. It looked distinct from evokers, vindicators and pillagers. This wasn't just evoker but cold, this thing was mean. The Iceologer's main attack was simple and horrifying. It would summon massive chunks of ice above the player, pause briefly, then drop them straight down. No tracking, no explosion, just gravity doing what gravity does best. Which meant survival depended on your own awareness, constant movement, and not stopping to admire the view. And where would it have spawned? Mountains. Players didn't hate the Iceologer, they were terrified of it. Mountains were already steep, fall damage heavy, and a nightmare to climb. Now imagine you're parkouring up a cliff when suddenly ice forms above you. You panic, you try to dodge, you fall, you scream, splat. Basically, players said, this mob is cool, please keep it far away from me. But here's the funny part, after the Caves and Cliffs update, Mountains became taller, more dramatic and more spacious, which means the Iceologer would actually fit better now than it ever would have back then. And guess what? Minecraft Dungeons added it, fully realised, fair but punishing. Almost like Mojang was saying, see, we told you it was awesome. Next up, the glare. A mob so polite, so well intentioned, and so aggressively ignored that it became a meme overnight. The glare wasn't a fighter, it was a utility mob designed to help players identify dangerous darkness. It looked like a floating clump of moss and vines. With leafy eyebrows and two glowing eyes, it would wander near to the player and react emotionally to dark areas. It would get angry when light level hit 0, where hostile mobs could spawn. Basically, this is what you'd get if a houseplant had an anxiety disorder. It didn't place light, it didn't fight mobs, it just judged your lighting choices. But the problem wasn't the idea, the problem was execution. Java players already had the F3 debug screen, and the glare only detected light level 0, would likely have been non-farmable, and probably would have dropped nothing. It would have been useful for the early game, but not so great once your base was already lit properly. So, players voted for the Alley instead, a mob that stayed useful forever. The glare became symbolic. It represented a good idea, but with limited execution. This was something that maybe should have been a game mechanic instead of a mob. If redesigned today, it could detect light level below, say, light level 7, emit particles pointing to danger, place torches for you, be craftable, and even toggleable. It would be great, especially for Bedrock players who don't have access to debug screens. Now, let's talk about a mob that made builders cheer and everyone else go, wait, that's it? Introduced during Minecraft Live 2023, the crab was a passive mob designed for one thing, better building. It spawned in mangrove swamps and had one massive and one regular claw. And the big claw? Well, that dropped the crab claw, which, when held in the offhand, increased block placement reach. But that's it. No combat bonus, no mining assistance, just fewer steps when building. Builders loved it, but everyone else, not so much. At the time, players were calling for combat updates. The crab was pure quality of life. But it strengthened a growing demand to just add all mob vote features eventually. So this might not be the last we see of this crustacean sensation. Next, Meerkats. The mob that existed purely to make deserts feel alive. They would have been small, upright, sand-coloured mobs that lived in deserts and possibly mesas. They would have spawned in social groups of 3 to 6. And they would have had sentries with alert behaviours. They would have also had burrowing animations. They didn't help you fight or drop useful items. They just lived and helped you to stay alive by alerting you to mobs nearby. They symbolised a shift in Mojang's ethos from what does this mob give me to what does this mob add to the world, and that's important. If they were to revisit it now, I think Mojang would add these mobs as a larger overhaul of passive mobs or desert biomes in general. Could we see these added alongside the new baby farm mobs? Now something bigger than a single mob, the end itself. Most players will beat the Ender Dragon, get some shulker shells and elytra or two, then leave and never go back. The Nether and Overworld have had tons of updates, including new biomes, blocks and mobs. The end? Well, the end is still just floating shelves of endstone. But players want new end biomes, new flora, varied terrain, new end-themed blocks, some new mobs and structures, but really, they just want a reason to return. Some even think a major end update could arrive in 2026, based on update timing patterns, tiny changes like the end sky flashes and community feedback. But so far, there's been no confirmation, just hope. Now let's talk about the real final boss of Minecraft, your inventory. The inventory hasn't scaled with the game. We have more blocks, more items, more mechanics, but the same space. Shulkers help, but they interrupt gameplay, forcing you to stop, place them and find what you need. Bundles also help, but they don't solve everything. Players would prefer backpack slots, pickup filters and direct shulker access, but it has to be balanced. Too much space removes strategy, too little change fixes nothing, and that's the real theme tying all of this together. Minecraft keeps growing, and every lost mob, unused idea, An untouched system reminds us how much potential is still waiting. Thanks for watching. Rendar Crumb is AFK.